Do you remember We Play? Me too, so I made this. It is a needlefelt sculpture, and in this video you can see me. We Play is an old Wii game that came out in 2006. It is 18 years old now. It can vote. Anyway, I picked up this board from Michael's one day, and I thought it'd make a good plaque for a fishing trophy. But I don't actually fish, so here's the needlefelt king of the pond. I chose him, mainly, due to the nostalgia factor that I hope you also feel. Now, unfortunately, I didn't record myself making the base for this object, but I can show you detailing the other side. That all starts with the wool I already have. For this project, I'm using a purple, a pinkish magenta, a lightish blue, a yellow, black, and I also bought a dark purple just for this project, but I'm sure I'll use it later. In this project, I'm starting out at the head, layering down a darker color of blue along the bottom of the jaw, following that up by adding a lighter layer towards the top of the head. The original sprite has this very interesting watercolor look, and I'm trying to emulate that by having the different colors bleed into one another. When needlefelting, if you go straight up and down, that anchors it in place, but if you go kind of at an angle, it actually mixes the wool together closer up on the surface. Now, because the lips were already here, I figured I'd at the very least tack them down now. The lips I made by taking yellow wool, rolling it into a tube, and just felting it onto the head. Here you can see me again going basically straight up and down to lock it in place. With the easier part done, I decided to lay down a bunch of scales at once to make it go by a bit quicker. Starting with the dark purple, along the bottom edge of the fish where it would entirely be that darker color, I just started laying out the felt, trying to cover up all the areas. I then moved up to the top and did a similar thing with the lightest purple that I had. Now, I flip-flopped my technique quite a bit here, first laying down a single scale, thinking it was going to take too long, and then deciding to lay down whole areas of it instead. Now, you might be wondering, if I have two different colors of purple, and I'm supposed to blend them, how can I do that? Well, I can use wool carders. These very painful looking brushes can be used to mix multiple colors of wool. I first took a bit of the dark wool and blended it together with the lighter purple color. This, ideally, should make a color roughly in between the two. Now, I did it fairly quickly there, but you can see already that the two colors is roughly in between. Although I have realized the darker color always ends up a bit more prominent in the final outcome. Now here I realized I'm probably going to have to make individual scales because, well, I can't lay down a single line on the fish, there's a bunch of curves. Considering the other side was already completed, I was just trying to follow the rough proportions of what I had already made. I cut out a lot of me flipping the fish upside down over and over to try to keep in line with the other side. A benefit of needlefelting is if you color over the lines, you can just add more wool on top and hide your crimes, which is pretty useful. The reason I'm being such a stickler when it comes to the scales is because for me, the watercolor look the game had was a major part of its appeal. That's probably because the Wii isn't powerful and couldn't handle better graphics, but I do think it made up for it with style. It's at this point I figured having the black outlines there would be useful for me to figure out where the scales actually should go. As such, I went back towards the head and using a black wool, started needlefelting directly downwards to make a line. I added a lot of arches for a lot of scales. Just so many scales. I think, especially in hindsight, We Play was such a good game is because it's one of the first ones that I can remember that really has a fishing element. Minecraft, Stardew Valley, Terraria, and those are just games where fishing's like a side thing you can do. That's not to mention all the games where fishing's the main point of it. And I will stand here in front of you and say it is all because of We Play. You know why? Because it's the first one I remember. And frankly, it's the first time I realized how fun it is to catch fake fish. I especially like Wii Play because of the motion controls. Again, I think catching fake fish is fantastic, and that extra element of having to move your body to do it just, perfect. Now they probably did that to trick gamers into exercising, but frankly I support it. Good for them. Well, this weird mini rant is really meant to signify the fact that without Wii Play, web fishing would not exist. And I'm sure there's a lot of people out there who should be saying thank you who might not even know about Wii Play. Back to the build, however, I'm starting to reach the end of the tail, and so I'm filling in the last few scales. As you can see, there's a lot of white spots in between the black and the other scales. That was the main reason I wanted to try to lay down all the colors first, because I knew by felting directly inwards, I was going to end up giving him a couple bald spots, but by adding more wool, you can just cover it up and it's fine. Moving on to the fins, I'm starting with a dark blue outer outline, which you can kind of see bleeding through, but it's fine. I then took a lighter blue and worked my way inwards towards the body. I accented that with some black lines for the vertical fin ribs. I really don't know what they're called. And I ended it by adding a black outline around the edge of the entire fin. Since all the fins were basically the same, instead of subjecting you to me making them all, here's a quick montage of me making them. This is a lot of footage and a lot of time, but I respect your time, so you don't have to sit through all of it. Anyway, the last protrusion on the fish that I haven't gotten to yet was a weird orange thing towards the front of it, and it's very simple. I just colored it with orange, added the black outline to separate it from the head, and then once again filled in the bald spots of blue I left earlier. Moving on to the mouth, I added a black outline around it to tie it into the rest of the aesthetic of the fish. And of course I couldn't forget the black outline in between the mouth, separating the two lips. One last thing before I finish the fish, and you can see the fish has to see. So I'm adding in the eyeball right now, which is a simple black piece of wool, and I added a bit more because I didn't think it was large enough the first time. And with that, the moment you've all been waiting for, we can get to the final reveal. Check out this big, beautiful boy who is unfortunately too big to fit onto the board. Thank you very much for watching. Pretty soon a part 2 is going to be coming out where you can see me make all of these smaller fish from Wii Play. If you enjoyed this, please subscribe, leave a like, and especially leave a comment letting me know what I should make next. Besides the other fish.